Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco, and Kyle.
Yes, sir.
We have traveled together.
We have.
Right? On a variety of different things. Our main one was our trip to Celebration almost 2 years ago, like a year and a half ago. Star Wars.
That's right, in Chi-Town.
Right, in Chicago. But I always, whenever I've traveled, I've been in the nicest hotels. I've been in not some of the greatest hotels. And we have talked about some of our hotel stuff in previous season. Well, okay.
It was a nice place.
So, I'm trying to think of myself, like, what would be one of the greatest hotel suites that you can stay in? And when I was doing this research, it's interesting because it's the hotel that's featured in these opening seconds of this minute. It is the Hotel de Paris in Monte Carlo. It opened in 1863.
Wow.
Which is incredible. And it's famous.
So the Civil War was raging.
Yes.
And they're like, let's build a hotel.
Well, and if you listen to the closing parts of our last minute, you know that Monaco, this would be the place that would happen. So It's famous for its opulence, and it's also famous for its favorite guests and famous guests, such as Grace Kelly, who known as Princess Grace, and her spouse, Prince Rainier III. This hotel, if you actually look on it in probably sometime in 2020, if you look at Google Maps, you will actually see that it is under a massive renovation. The renovation's actually been complete, but at the time the maps were created, massive stuff. They spent almost $300 million on a renovation plan that began in 2014. It was completed in 2019, last year. And I looked into this and I was like, well, what is rooms? If we were going to go to Celebration in Monaco and we wanted to stay at the Hotel de Paris, if we wanted a room with a terrace, and that terrace would have a sea view because we'd like to have our breakfast in the morning, obviously looking at the Mediterranean. That room would cost us $1,169 a night. However, if you're a high roller, we could stay in either the Princess Grace or the Prince Rainier III suites. Each one is 11,000 square feet, has an outdoor pool and hot tub. Of course. The Princess Grace suite fetches around $45,000 a night. The Prince Rainier suite, a little bit more expensive at $51,000 a night. That's not something we will be staying at anytime soon.
No.
We can't sell enough pillows or anything like that.
I looked into it too because I'm like, what's the cheapest I could stay at the Hotel de Paris? So I went the other way. I'm like, what's cheapest? Like, what's like next to the boiler room and the ice machine?
And what's that going to run you?
And the elevator. Those are what's on three sides of your room. Like, what is the lowest rate? And the cheapest you could get is 500 euros a night, which is about $585 in US. So still a lot, but like, compared to $45,000 a night.
What in the world?
You can stay in that one for weeks.
Jeez.
No, a week and a half, I guess.
It would be cool because you'd be right next to the opera house. There's an opera house there, and that's right next to the casino, the famous Monte Carlo casino.
It's probably haunted.
I mean, well, probably.
Just guessing.
And of course, if you wanted to go some hunting for some movie geography, this hotel was featured in 2 James Bond films, Never Say Never Again in 1983 and GoldenEye in 1995. And I know a favorite movie of yours, Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted.
We were just talking about Madagascar 3. I don't think it was one of my favorite movies.
No, it wasn't.
It was the context?
I think you were being held captive by a daughter, and she was... Anyway,
that sounds about right.
All right, enough of hotel.
But speaking of being held captive by a movie, here we are to talk about minute 27 of Iron Man 2 from 2010, directed by Mr. Jon Favreau. So we are continuing the big sweeping shot, and it turns out that this sweeping shot is actually part of an opening package because this is a French news show talking about the Grand Prix. And of course, this is one of the most famous things that happens in Monaco. The Monaco Grand Prix is a Formula One race held annually on the Circuit de Monaco, which is basically they just close off a bunch of streets and say, now it's a racetrack. Right. So I suppose like where I grew up, Indianapolis 500, dedicated space. But here it's just like, no, just inconvenience a bunch of millionaires so we can have a bunch of millionaires running their cars around the track. Monaco.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was actually created in 1929, and it's considered to be one of the most important and prestigious automobile races in the world, says Wikipedia. It's one of the races along with the Indianapolis 500, as previously mentioned, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans that form the Triple Crown of motorsport. But unfortunately, this is not the Grand Prix. This is the Historic Grand Prix, which is a different thing entirely. This is actually something that Jon Favreau wanted to have specifically because he wanted to use like classic cars. So what they do is they started this in 1998, and they have multiple races along the way of cars from different eras. So they actually go all the way back to like if any cars are still running from the 1930s, and they race them against each other. So they have different ones. So all the cars we're seeing here are not real what would have been at 2010 modern Grand Prix Formula One cars. These are all classic ones. Even the one that Tony uses is a classic version of a car. So it happens 2 weeks before the Formula One Grand Prix.
So all right, well, we'll have more to talk about, I'm sure, with the cars. As it gets
yes, there'll be lots of car action going on here. Yeah, so then we see, as you mentioned, there's the Hotel Paris that we have Stark and his entourage show up. This is a 2009 Rolls-Royce Phantom that he rolls up in. It's interesting to note, if you watch some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, they actually show this scene being filmed with the photo doubles. So like they show this same scene like from a different angle, them rolling up, everybody gets out of the car, and none of them are the stars. Like they were just using it for whatever, but like everyone who steps out is like dressed the exact same, looks the exact same, but are the photo doubles for all 3 of the actors.
Now, are they filming actually there?
They did. They actually found there. They took a short trip to Monaco and shot some of the stuff. Mostly they shot this. And then they shot a couple things. They shot what they're called plates.
Right.
So basically, they would like shoot a bit of like the angle, and so then allow the special effects people to do it. So it's new footage, but then they would CG over the top of it. So what we see here, them walking up the steps, is actually in Monaco. And then when they cut to the other angle, they're back in Southern California. So all the interior stuff is back in the studio.
So wait a minute. How many shots did they shoot with the principal actors in Monaco?
I think it was just a long weekend.
Yes, because as I'm watching this, I'm thinking
there's very little that actually shows up.
If the exterior one is here as they roll up, okay, fine. But once they're inside, that's obviously that's a soundstage.
Which is, I gotta say, I don't know if it's production design or whoever it is, but like whoever did the outside the windows, it's spectacular.
Oh yeah, right.
Like every time they shoot out the window, you would 100% believe that they were in there and not in a soundstage in California. Like it looks amazing.
No, wait, but I mean, there's some shots later on which we'll get to obviously in a few more minutes. But that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
that's basically it. Like I said, they shot plates, but that was basically it. Like I think that what shooting plates means basically like second unit goes out and does all that. So the cast, they walk up there and they're done for the day. Like they're just hanging out in Monaco for the next couple of days while the second unit's running around shooting streets.
This is literally a weekend in Monaco. Like,
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Must be nice to be a movie star.
Yeah, way to go, Favreau. Interesting.
Spending that Paramount money.
Interesting. So wait, so when they come out of the car, it isn't just Tony and Pepper and Happy. There's another item.
Fourth. That's right, because Happy is carrying a very odd-looking briefcase, which is manacled to his wrist. Foreshadowing.
And it's clearly, well, it looks like it's metal and it's Iron Man red. So now, when you remember seeing this, I remember, and obviously we're going to get to this because it's one of the best scenes actually in the MCU when that suitcase is used.
Yeah.
Was that known, like at that moment when you saw this in the theater? Did you know, that's the suitcase suit? Did anybody?
I think they put it in the previews.
Yeah, that's because that's what I remember
it's in
correctly.
The first,
right.
I believe that at the end of the Iron Man, the first Iron Man 2 trailer, they show him suiting up.
Right.
Like it's on the ground all the way up. And so when you saw this, it was like, oh, I bet you that's the thing.
This is clearly the moment that's supposed to make you connect that. Okay, yeah, this is happening.
This is what really makes me hate marketing, because can you imagine if we okay, let's diverge for a second here. Remember that moment in Avengers Endgame when Captain America catches Mjolnir?
Oh yeah.
And I remember
spoilers, but sure.
The audience went insane because no one had any clue it was going to be in there. But like, there are so many amazing moments that have been spoiled by marketing.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, sure.
Because like what I understand of the business, that is the part where the director does not have final cut. Doesn't matter who you are.
Oh, your trailers. No, your trailers are cut by your marketing.
That is completely owned by the studio, and the studio
Right.
send it out to the people, and they take whatever they can. They'll put any part of the movie they want just to try and sell it.
Exactly.
And so they have no control over it. So, I mean, like, I can think of countless twists that have been spoiled. Like, the Terminator 2 was a big one.
Right.
Like, if you watch that movie, you have no idea who's on what side until like the big reveal of like, wait, he's actually, it's, you know, I spoil Endgame, but I kind of want to keep the secret of Terminator 2, which is even older. But but in the previews, they're like, boom, they put it right out there in front, and everybody knew going in exactly what it was, and it sort of destroys this thing that James Cameron had built over the first, you know, half hour of the movie or so.
Exactly.
It's frustrating. But yeah, business is business, I guess. Speaking of business, so Tony actually is walking in, and he has a surprise for Pepper, and not a good one. He says, "Whatever happens next, I just want you to go with it."
The 20 minutes. Whatever happens in the next 20 minutes, just roll.
Yeah. And so it's like, you have to understand, though, they have been together probably at least 10 hours.
Oh yeah,
like they were on his private plane.
Right.
Probably all three of them flew together.
Right.
He knew exactly what was going to happen here. Could have told her at any point.
Well,
but instead he waits until right here.
Of course, till it's too late. Can't do anything about it. This is happening.
Because, hey, look, it's Natalie, who's been hired as his personal assistant over the objections of the CEO of Stark Industries.
Oh, that's the thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well,
and from what we can tell, though, she is extremely good at her job. Like, she walks up, she's already there. First of all, like, she did not ride on the private jet. So did he make her fly commercial? I don't know. But she got there first.
Yeah, she's doing advance as a good
right.
assistant.
She's doing advance work.
Sure.
Right. Exactly. And dressed to the nines.
Right.
Like in there, she already knows that everyone around there. She is familiar with the management of the place. Like she's doing a great job as a personal assistant. And so she greets them. Hello. How was your flight? And she says, we have one photographer from the ACM, if you don't mind. Like, basically, like, hey, they would like to have your picture taken. The ACM is the Automotive Club of Monaco. So I'm sure they want to promote the fact that famous people are there. And so as they're sort of getting together and posing for these photos, they're sort of quietly whispering to each other. And Pepper says, when did this happen? Like, when did you hire her after I told you not to? He says, you made me do it. Whoa, what? Okay, Tony. But what's interesting about this, before we move on from it, is this photo is actually very important. This photo that is taken right there, because it will show up again in the MCU.
Yeah.
Shall that be another thing they look forward to?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, we'll get there. We'll get there someday.
Yeah, we'll get there. So this is a very important photo, and it actually will be meaningful in the future. So and then Pepper says, you are so predictable.
Yeah. As hard as he tries.
So
as hard as he
Pepper
tries.
gets sort of pulled away, and then Tony walks off with Natalie, and he says, you look fantastic, but that's not professional. What's on the docket? And I don't know what time it is when we're here. I assume it's mid-afternoon? I mean, is that your impression?
Brunch.
Like, I was thinking
I'm thinking brunch. This is brunchy.
Oh, you're thinking brunch. So you're thinking like 10, 11.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking more like 2, 3.
Yeah. Well, and these places, brunch is like 8 hours. So
it just rolls.
It goes. That's actually
rolling brunch.
You know, honestly, that's completely true, though. Like, okay, little side note. One of the trips I took to the Middle East when I went to Dubai on Saturdays, that's what a lot of the expats there do. I mean, real thing. They go to places like this for brunch, and it's 8 hours long.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You gotta pace yourself. You're having like multiple meals over the course of this.
This isn't actually totally surprising. Like, yeah, that would be a thing.
So Tony says, what's on the docket? And she says, you have a 9:30 dinner. And it seems weird to me that Tony Stark would have nothing on his calendar until 9:30. But of course, then there's going to be an explanation for why that is.
Exactly. Right.
And so he says, fantastic. I'll be there at 11. Tony Stark being a rich prick.
Well, this is his shtick. He's at the height of this.
This is the worst of Tony. And we're in the worst of Tony.
Yeah.
And so he walks over to a table at the corner and says, is this us? And she says, it can be, which is the perfect answer for a great personal assistant.
Absolutely. She's nailed this. She knows exactly the role she's supposed to play to do what he wants to do. Yes.
And he says, great, make it us.
Right.
And so she immediately like goes and talks to the concierge or the manager or whoever it is that, and like basically, and I couldn't really tell, but I think she's speaking French at that point. Like she's basically saying like, you know, Monsieur Stark would like, no, I'm not gonna, but you know, basically saying like whoever's on here, kick him out because Mr. Stark wants this table.
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah, yes, of course, yeah. Oui.
Everything changes.
Shout out to all of our French fans out there.
Yes.
I just lost all of them. Of course, knowing what I know, us dunking on Monaco probably got us a lot more fans in France because
we were
a lot of mainland France are not big fans of the people
they're
of Monaco.
not. Anyway,
Liberté, égalité, fraternité, my friends. Okay, so then as they're walking, then Pepper has rejoined, and so they walk around, and we've got another billionaire cameo. Is Elon Musk a billionaire? Should I say millionaire?
Oh, no, he's a billionaire. Yeah,
he's a billionaire? Okay. I keep that there.
Yeah.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Pause for applause.
Yay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, depending on when you're listening to this, that could have a different reaction.
Yeah, it could. So Elon Musk, for those of you who don't know, he is the rich tech entrepreneur who is the main investor for groups like Tesla, PayPal, and SpaceX. I'd just like to point out that he was not one of the founders of Tesla until he bought his way into that title. Just FYI. So why is he in this movie? Excellent question. Because they use his facility to shoot in. Later on, we're going to be seeing them shooting in SpaceX, and one of the terms of, yes, you can get a facility, but I need FaceTime with Tony Stark. So this is one of the things they put him in. Of course, they wrote him a check too, but he also gets a cameo in the movie.
It's interesting. His story is really interesting.
Yes.
Do you remember Zip2? Do you remember that, like back in the mid-90s?
No, I'm gonna say no because a couple things came to mind. I don't think they're what you're talking about.
Okay, so no, Zip2, so Zip2.com or Zip2 Corporation. This was basically travel information. So like a city guide. It was an online city guide. That's the site that that was his first company. Him and his brother Kimball, they create this, and then they end up selling it, I believe, to the Compaq Computer Corporation, which is random. And if you don't remember Compaq computers,
exactly,
Google away and see what everything was like 25 years ago.
That's right.
But he ends up selling it like for $300 million in cash. So that's his whole, like, that's where he starts.
Seed.
Right.
Yeah.
So then he and his brother then used that money from the sale of Zip2, and they found X.com. X.com was trying to be this online financial services payments company. X.com is there's an acquisition of it, and it is what ends up becoming PayPal. So he wasn't the founder of PayPal, but he was the founder of what became PayPal.
Yeah.
And that is the rest of the story, because then after that, cash. Then you're just like,
I say we could spend a whole half hour just talking about the interesting quirks and foibles and SEC violations that
nobody becomes a billionaire because they're
being nice.
Because being nice or being totally
ethical.
Sane.
Yeah.
And that's not. Listen, that's no knock.
He could buy and sell all of True Story FM.
In case anyone's listening from either of the corporations that have been founded or are in process of being funded by Elon Musk, we'd like to appreciate and thank you for your patronage. Please don't hurt us. Thank you.
Yeah. For further information and a more in-depth discussion of the history of these, I refer to you to a historical document called Epic Rap Battles of History, Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh my God.
They have done their research, and it is wonderful.
Discretion advised.
So let that be your homework. It's 3 minutes of joy I give to you.
Yes. If you've never seen Epic Rap Battles of History, you introduced it to me. It's amazing. Again, viewer discretion. Okay.
Yes. Oh, yes. It is NSFW.
Yeah. Not safe for a lot of places.
Yeah. Exactly.
You'll get the whole story.
Yeah. It is well worth checking out. And of course, Elon Musk was a inspiration for the character of Tony Stark when they revised him for the movie, because they're looking at, billionaires who put money in tech and all that kind of stuff. So that was also part of the inspiration. So, and on that obligatory cameo, that is where our minute comes to an end.
We get a little bit. We hear him say, "I think congratulations to Pepper."
Yes,
and I think that's literally it.
That's pretty much where it ends.
Yeah,
but if you like congratulations, then you should like reviews as well.
Oh, yes.
And we're looking for them. So go to your podcatcher of choice, whether it be iTunes or Pocket Casts or I don't know. I don't even know what Google's podcast service is anymore. They keep changing the name of it. Oh, yeah. But we're looking for reviews. My favorite number of stars is 5. But you can put in whatever you want, and you can even put your opinion on the show or the history of Elon Musk, whatever you want to put in. We don't care.
Just like the 5-star hotels in your life, like the Hotel de Paris.
Exactly. Oh, there you go. That's even better.
I mean, look, just like if you're going to stay in that luxury
if you like a
suite,
5-star hotel,
there you go.
You'll like a 5-star podcast, and it helps people find us, and it gives a little spark of joy that goes into the deep well of our souls.
When you find that podcast, tell us about it.
Yeah. And in the meantime, give us 5 stars just because it's just a couple of clicks. Come on, what you gonna do? So we'll be finishing up that cameo and moving on to the return of the best character in the movie. So you do not want to miss that. Enough said.
Bye.